Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Advisory Finance Committee meeting number 10 of fiscal year 22. Today is October 7th, 2021. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, no in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted for entirely remote meetings, as this one is. But every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means on Westborough TV, Verizon Channel 28, or Charter Channel 192, or on www.youtube.com/Westborough TV. However, in the event we are unable to do so despite best efforts, we will post on the Town of Westborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting.
Hey, Mike, you have to let Andrew's voice in. Yeah, there you go.
We just got him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. So we've got a busy agenda this evening. We've got several guests, and we're just going to dive right into Article 7 and 8 with respect to the police department's request for a lieutenant's position and a vehicle in Article 8. And welcome to Police Chief Jeffrey Laurie. Thank you for joining us tonight, Chief. Appreciate the time.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully everyone received the document that I provided the Board of Selectmen the night we gave the presentation, the Deputy Chief and I. I'm hoping also you have his PowerPoint as well as the vehicle PowerPoint, and I can answer any of your questions. But I just wanted to go over a few things, and hopefully you get to watch the video and read the article that I sent you today. You know, I watched the last meeting and I heard a sports car mentioned, et cetera, in the optics of that car. And what I will tell you is it's Mustang enthusiasts are not happy with Ford that they named this vehicle a Mustang. It's actually a small four-door SUV vehicle. And this vehicle's been tested by the Michigan State Police. They test all police vehicles and they certify them as police vehicles. So this is actually a police vehicle. It's the first electric vehicle to pass this very stringent testing process by the Michigan State Police. Like I said, they set up, you know, what a police car should be doing and is meant to do. And this car, quite frankly, I heard the highway access, but this car actually is better really for a PD like Westborough, where the acceleration is very good, where you're trying to stop someone in a traffic stop. You want to pull that car over, that speeding car over as quick as you can, as safe as you can, you know, to protect the public. So basically, hopefully that answered a lot of your questions, but this is definitely a little small four-door SUV vehicle. We're going to be testing it out to see if, you know, we can put it in patrol. Topsfield PD has purchased one. So basically, I'm waiting to see how they outfit it. Right now, when we order a cruiser, we still haven't taken delivery of the cars that we ordered in May. We are hearing now there's a 7-month ordering time for the car to come in, then a 3-month, you know, time period where we're waiting for the equipment, and then they have to do the build. So this vehicle wouldn't be here for probably 10 months, 11 months. And that's why we want to really kind of get going on this. And then we'll definitely in the future see if it can go to patrol division. But right now it's just going to be, like I said, for command staff and detectives. And hopefully you'll support that vehicle, which, by the way, if the lieutenant's position is not supported at town meeting, I will be pulling that article off the table. We won't need the vehicle. I was mentioning to everyone during my presentations about body cameras that there'd be a position that would come along with this, that body cameras in post alone are going to really kind of cause a lot of work for this officer, this lieutenant. And someone had mentioned, well, why does it have to be a lieutenant? Well, one is, the accreditation process and the powers that be that are overseeing these initiatives, they're basically telling us that you should have a supervisor redacting these vehicles above a frontline supervisor. So in our case in Westborough, that would be a lieutenant. And there would actually be 2 lieutenants because I need backup. Because if, let's say, our lieutenants are on patrol and they have their body camera on, because they do take overtime shifts, so when we're running short. So if that lieutenant's on scene and his body camera records something, I'm going to need someone else to redact that video. I can't have him do it. But predominantly, it'll be one lieutenant, the administrative lieutenant. And the other thing that's very important to note is when the person is reviewing these videos, because we're going to audit certain videos per accreditation, per our policy, we need someone that understands the subtleties of police work, that understand what they need to look for, especially if we're doing something not quite right, where we have a retraining issue that we have to do. So it really is imperative this is a lieutenant position. In post, hopefully you got that 2-page document I gave the selectmen, but there are a few things I wanted to go over with you in regards to what this position is going to be dealing with. So if this position is approved at town meeting, I'm comfortable in telling everyone here in the town that Sergeant Mike Daniels will be promoted to lieutenant. He'll be our administrative lieutenant. And he's at training right now. Our lieutenants are internal affairs officers. So he's at that training. And in that training this week, he's dealing with post and some of the requirements that he's going to have to do. And basically all complaints must be reported within 48 hours to post. That's the Peace Officer Training and Standards Commission. Internal affairs records must be available for audit by the state at any time. So I'm going to need an officer that's available Monday through Friday to be able to get that done. Our current accreditation policies, at least 8, must be revamped to match the new requirements made by post. This administrative lieutenant is going to be in charge of policy and procedures as well as our accreditation process. So this is going to be a very busy job. Complaint forms must be revamped in compliance with post complaint receipt policies. Training requirements must be fulfilled annually in order to maintain certification. That's our license to be police officers. And the training council and post dictate what training is required to maintain certification. That's mandatory. And this is big. All injuries sustained during any use of force must be reported to the state. That's something we've never had to do before. And quite frankly, things do happen where we're injured and the public, does have injuries. So this position is really mission critical. And I said that when I was going for the body cameras themselves, that this would have a ripple effect, that this would be a long-term commitment of the town to maintain storage and to maintain the program, and that we were going to probably have to add staff just for this. Never in a million years would I imagine that we'd be in the pandemic that we are, and then dealing with some of the social justice issues that we're dealing with in police reform. So yes, I mean, we're short-staffed. There's no 2 ways about it. I need tires that meet the road. We've ordered on multiple people this week because, we need police officers on the street. But at the end of the day, where we're going dictates that, I'm going to need some help administratively. This is going to also create something else, which Chief Purcell can attest to. The chief's got a captain and a lieutenant on every shift. So if that lieutenant or that captain takes a vacation day or is out sick or a personal day, you have another command staff member there, which hopefully in turn, you don't have to order people on or utilize as much overtime. That's something that we're going to evaluate. So I'm going to be creating a evening lieutenant position. So our patrol division lieutenant will be predominantly scheduled evenings. So we'll have a station commander. One of the big things that I'm trying to accomplish, and hopefully we'll get that done in the next year or so, is have a station officer, because I'm very upset not having someone in the station. So I think this lieutenant, again, which will be doing some administrative responsibilities as well as the patrol division commander, overseeing some things, I think will be a benefit. And that's who will be the backup to help Lieutenant Daniels redact these videos. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Hopefully I didn't miss anything, but you have the PowerPoint presentation from Deputy Chief Minardi, which he gives you a list of administrative lieutenant responsibilities, and duties, and then along with some of the things that I gave you tonight and that sheet that I provided the selectmen.
Any questions of the chief?
I have one.
Yep, Paul.
So thank you for answering those issues that came up. I'm probably the other one that raised some of them, and I'm glad that you went right to those. So for the lieutenant position, the question so I think you answered pretty well as far as, it read to me as very administrative, which I know that's in the title. But I wondered, and I don't want to make it personal since you mentioned that you have a person in mind, so maybe that takes care of it. But I just thought, who goes into policing and aspires to a job with so much paperwork, electronic paperwork? And I was wondering if it'd be tough to find the right person. Sounds like maybe that's not the problem.
So he's going to be in charge, like right now, he's in charge of our community engagement unit. He's in charge of grant writing. He's doing a lot of administrative responsibilities now. He's just going to be taking on a lot more, where now he still has to maintain being a shift supervisor. He spends a lot of hours, out in the road, where now he's going to be able to administratively get these things done. But he's still, listen, when the lights go out on Otis Street, it's all hands on deck. You got lieutenants, deputy chiefs, and chiefs out there helping the squad. I mean, we get busy sometimes where, he's going to go out. He's going to be able to, when someone's on vacation, to take an overtime shift, that type of thing. So he's still going to be in the mix. He's still a police officer. But yeah, you're right. It's a lot of administrative work. He's going to get a lot of great experience. But this is what every police department does. And as Westborough is really growing, you look at our business community. We have 8 hotels. The town of Shrewsbury, I think, has 1 now, maybe 2. I think we have more than the city of Worcester. Right now, we are the busiest police department at Westborough District Court when it comes to those things. So, that's what's happening here. And we just need some help to make sure we continue to provide a real high level of service and we meet your expectations. In this position, it'd be easy for me just to bury my head in the sand and say, you know what, I can't do it. I mean, I want to make sure you folks have the very best in public safety services. I want to make sure our offices are safe. I want to make sure we're doing best practices. I want to see us certified in the spring. I want to see us accredited this time next year. And this lieutenant's position is going to really, really help us get there. It's a very much needed member of the team. And I promise you, he will be extremely busy. And I may have to come to you in a couple of years and say, you know what, I need, to put a sergeant in with him to help him because he may need a lot of help. We're in some really uncharted waters with post, and what our expectations are going to be. When all these subcommittees are formed, we talk about 8 policies that have to be amended right now, and we just rewrote them all. Can you imagine when all these subcommittees start meeting, the body camera subcommittee and everything else, when they start making changes? So this person's going to be extremely busy. Like I said, he's been at training all week, learning about this and internal affairs and different things that he's going to be responsible for and he's going to be completing in his future if this position is passed. If this position is not passed at town meeting, it's going to be really hard on us. We'll do the best with what we have. I'm just afraid we come up short.
Any other questions?
Well, I did have a question on the car too. Since you mentioned that there's a weight on the one that the Mustang, is there also a weight on the alternative, the Modified Explorer?
It's all of them. It's
right.
Everything. I'm hoping it's not that long, but they're saying prepare yourself. Like I said, we ordered those cars in May and we're not here.
Right.
And technically we put a hold, in anticipating we were going to get them. Detective Croft, one of our fleet managers, actually through MHQ, put a hold because if we don't purchase them, someone else is going to grab them right away. So ahead of the curve, we said, you know what, if town meeting says no to the cars, then we'll hey, give them to someone else because they're not outfitted a market. We're waiting for them to come in. So we've really been waiting months and months. I'm hoping that the car gets here in November, December, I hope. And the Mustang, we're going to push to get it here sooner, but it is what it is.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Any other questions, folks? Chief, just for the record, the salary, the compensation you indicated in your request for the lieutenant did or did not include benefits that the,
So benefits would be separate through the town side.
okay,
It's what would affect my budget.
okay, we just wanted to verify that.
Yep.
If there are no other questions, Chief, thank you.
No, my hand is raised.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Sorry.
Andrew.
I'll put my hand down now.
No.
Chief, I do want to start by saying, so one of the first instincts I have for questions is like, why do we need someone now and things seem to be going so well? And I do appreciate you really putting the right emphasis, I think, on talking about how much is really changing in the community. And I respect where Paul's going with his questions, and it seems that a lot of what's supporting police work now is really driven towards a lot of this administrative support and supporting things that are really valuable for the community, like the body cameras. So you've absolutely won me over in terms of understanding the need for the position, and so I really appreciate that conversation. There was an area you didn't touch, and it was in the presentation, and I apologize if I'm not connecting the dots. But the presentation for the position also included conversations about increases in numbers of incidents and increases in numbers of arrests and elements like that. Is this a position that will help address some of those needs in any way?
No, as far as the call volume itself, no. It'll be an extra body that's there during the day if there's a critical incident. Like I said, this individual is a police officer and he can respond. But as far as the needs to add personnel, those are real. And we can talk about that at another date. We have a proposal now, and we did provide that. It's nothing I want to talk about tonight, but we can in the future if those proposals are passed. If the ARPA proposal is not passed, then I'm going to be coming back to you looking to add some staff because we really do need the staff. But we're hoping that the proposal that we're bringing forward, and that will help. It's not the total answer, but it will help us moving forward.
Well, thank you. And if I may follow up with a car question as well, because I want to make sure I get that out of the way as well. The presentation showed a sort of comparative costs between the cars. And I remember noticing that the estimated values, and then they multiplied it out over 5 years and then 10 years and 50 years. And like how many police cars are 10 years old for starters? Now, not in this town. But what struck me as curious was that it looked like the activity or the estimates were all based on 12,000 miles per year of usage. And I'm given to understand from you that there's actually, I know some of the patrol cars can put on 100,000 miles a year, but this isn't a patrol car, so it's not going to be doing, maybe it's not going to be doing chases. You said it's for lieutenants, so help me understand, are we talking about a car that we should think about the proper carriage of costs for a lot more than 12,000 miles? Or do we even need to consider for things like chases?
So basically, what's really great about the electric vehicle is there's no idling hours. So when you look at a cruiser that has, 100,000 miles on it, it's a lot more than that because of all the idling hours. These cars don't idle. So we think they're going to last a lot longer. It's just a matter of the battery life in these cars. So we think an electric vehicle will last longer. We do. We have a 12-year-old, I believe it's 12-year-old Ford Taurus, 12-year-old Ford Taurus that's still in the fleet that we want to replace in the spring. Some of these cars we do hold on for a long time, especially those cars that are specialty assignment cars. And we have several of them, whether it be our accident reconstructionists, or our detectives, along those lines. So, we think there will be an added savings, and we think administratively, for a detective or for like myself or a deputy chief or a lieutenant, that these vehicles would last a very, very long time. And we think there would be a cost savings over time. And if you look at that, the two comparisons of vehicles, remember, you have to add $5,000 if it's a hybrid. I basically gave you a straight Explorer versus the electric vehicle. But if you go with a hybrid vehicle, add $5,000 to the hybrid Ford Explorer.
Thank you for the greater context. I appreciate that.
Don't we also have to add a charging station on the other side?
So right now, most likely I'm going to put a charging station in the garage, and we can talk about to Sustainable Westborough in the future about having a charging station at Forbes for town vehicles. But I think right now we have one electric vehicle, and even if we had two, if I was to replace the Taurus with an electric vehicle in the spring, if this works out, Springtown meeting, that basically I think the one charging station at the PD has two exports. So you could actually do both cars at the same time in there. That is in the cost of the car. If you look at the final cost of the car, the Ford charging station is in it, and it will charge any electric vehicle, not just Ford.
Any other questions? Beth?
Yeah, just a quick one, and now my train of thought went. And it was about the cars. When you declare a car done and it hasn't been done and finished in an accident, do they go to other town departments or
most
what
of the other departments, most of the vehicles you'll see, their police department hand-me-downs, except for, fire apparatus in the DPW vehicle.
Very specialty ones like yours.
So some of these cars, even though they're not, roadworthy, I would say, for a police officer, like, for what we do every day, 24/7,
Right.
so there's still some life left in them where we give them to the building inspector. We give them to, other departments in town that need a vehicle.
Right.
So, that's where most of the vehicles do come from to the other departments is when we're done with them, we pass them down.
Right.
If they're junk, if they're really not in good shape, then we'll trade them in. We don't get much money, but we get a little something that would take some off.
But that makes the longevity of this car look even more feasible if after you've decided it's no longer police worthy, if it's still a moving vehicle.
Yeah, we would pass it on down to.
Okay.
We would pass it on down to whoever wanted it, and it could be inspectional services, someone that does inspections in town.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have another quick question, if I may.
Yes.
So, Chief, one of the elements you presented in the deck had to do with the training time. And one of the things I was surprised not to see in there, and I suspect it's because it may be buried under a bigger category, is things like de-escalation training.
Yeah, we've had that. We've had that. We continue to have it. We have other trainings that are in the pipeline right now. We're doing critical incident training, CIT training. Behavioral Hospital is with us on a grant. They're going to cover all costs for that. We're constantly dealing with de-escalation. We're going to have autism training, awareness.
Yeah.
There's a whole host of things that are coming down the pike that are being mandated that we're already doing. We've been doing in Westborough since I started almost 4 years ago. Training, and I've said this 1,000 times, is absolutely critical. I think that's what makes Westborough special, is that we've been supported in that area. We've been given some resources to get that job done. And in the end, it reduces liability, quite frankly. Failure to supervise and failure to train. By having this lieutenant and by the direction that we're going in with accreditation and certification, we're reducing our liability substantially. And I'm very proud of our staff. They've embraced this model. It's a way to reward our employees. We've got several officers in training this week, all over the state. And basically, they're going to come back with these new tools. They're going to share it with their peers. There could be equipment upgrades that we purchase. There may be opportunities for them, to get called in to assist. So training is really, really critical. And that's just a small snapshot. What Deputy Chief Minardi provided in that PowerPoint is a very small snapshot of the training that we do. Even now online, we're constantly, even if it's a Zoom training, we're going to it. Your department is truly committed to providing the very best in service to you folks. The issue is we are short at times, and we're growing. Westborough's continuing to grow. I tell people all the time, I couldn't believe when I came here. I've been a policeman 33 years. And when I was in Shrewsbury in 1988, there were the same amount of patrolmen that when I took over here in 2018. And I've been playing catch up. And what I'll leave you with is the town saved a lot of money for a lot of years. I wish I took over when we had 37, like the fire department, where I wouldn't be having to ask for so many. And we're not even at 37 now. We should be in the 40s, the mid 40s anyway. And as I said, Shrewsbury's a very large town, 40,000 people, right? And we're busier than them at Westborough Court. That concerns me. you know, so we want to have the tires that meet the road. We want to prevent crime. We want to continue to offer services, you know, that are very high caliber. We're the only program of its kind, the Borough JDP program, jail diversion program. Clinicians in our cruiser. This is a grant to the Department of Mental Health. Again, she's providing training to us every day, you know, and I'll just leave you with this. You know, in July, we did 19 evaluations where people had to go get mental health treatment. And the town of Southborough and Northborough combined was 12. We were 19 in the month of July. So, I mean, there's a need out there for your police department, and we're utilizing every tool we can to get those folks the help they need so people lead productive lives. But we're committed, and hopefully you'll support, you know, our endeavor for this lieutenant's position in the vehicle. It's going to make us stronger. It's going to make us a better department. It's going to get us on the road where we need to be, dealing with some of these issues that are coming from posts. They still, their heads are spinning on this commission as far as where we're going. In my humble opinion, this was kind of rushed a little bit. I think in the end, it's going to be great. Hopefully we have all standard policy and procedures across the state. I believe certification is critical. I can't tell you how many times you see police officers, they'll resign, you know, before they're terminated and then picked up somewhere else, where now you'll be decertified when you do something that egregious. We will not be able to be a police officer. We're just like you. We don't want to see bad people in our ranks. That's why we hire so tough here in Westborough. And we've rescinded conditional offers from people we've given that are police officers because we want you folks to have the very best. And I want, as the temporary caretaker of this department, our staff to have the best. And I tell people all the time, we hire good people and we can help mold you into a very, very good police officer, but I can't make you a good person. If you're not a good person, you know, and that's what we're looking for. Good people, empathetic people with the guardian mindset. When they need to be a warrior, they can turn it on. But that's what Westborough is all about. It's a very special place, and that's how we survive with the staffing that we have. But again, not to be in my...
We need more.
I appreciate you giving your police department the opportunity to address you tonight, and I look forward to the town meeting on the 18th.
Chief, thank you very, very much. Really appreciate it. Have a great rest of the evening.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Okay, Jen Kirkland.
Hi.
Hi. I have a request.
Sure.
You can see on the screen we have both the chief, the fire chief, and the deputy fire chief. And
Yep.
looks like they're still at work. And would you object if we kind of bump them in front of you?
Sure. No problem.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate the courtesy.
Yeah, of course.
So welcome, Chief Purcell. And I'm going to, Deputy, if I butcher this, I apologize in advance. Is it Fershke?
Fershke.
Fershke. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. We paid for this.
No problem.
Gentlemen, we asked you to come tonight because, as you know, we received a letter from a Westborough citizen who seemed to have some experience with the software that you've requested in Article 13. And so I believe you've even seen a copy of that letter, if I'm correct. And so we wonder if you'd like to address that tonight to help clarify some of the questions that came up in our minds regarding this particular software.
Sure. So thanks for having me. I was surprised to see the letter. As you know, the only thing that means more to me than my integrity is the integrity of our organization. And I personally know the letter writer. So he is very, very good at his job, and he's a nice guy. I'm glad that he found the mistake before I went to town meeting. Just before I get started, I pretty much dissected the letter down, and it says that the purpose of this letter was that the article is not entirely correct. Well, there's two things that I found. One is I must have done this. I don't know if I was interrupted mid-sentence, but although this fared well for the Westborough Police, it is not intended for use by fire departments and is therefore difficult. I believe I was ending that with to use efficiently. I think I cut my sentence off. I don't know if I went on a call. I'm not really sure what happened there, but that was what my intended statement was. I appreciate the cut and paste that he did from the website. A little bit of history behind IMC is IMC was developed in like 1989, I believe, or 1990 in the town of Grafton. It was sold a few times, maybe 3, maybe 4. It has become IMC, a different version of IMC, then Tritech, then Central Square. Central Square is based out of San Diego. And if you go to their website, when he's talking about, where is it? IMC Suite, the cut and paste that you see on that, on the letter, that starts with automate your critical operations in there. That is the only reference to fire that I can find on their website. And it talks about their ability to have shared CAD, mobile, law, RMS, fire, RMS, jail, civil, detective, and administrative. And when you look at the rest of their page, the things that they offer are false alarm management, citations and crash, crime mapping, field training online, police to police and police to citizen, and there's a component of EMS billing. So I will stand corrected. They do offer something for the fire service. I believe I'm not a computer engineer. I'm not a software engineer. I've never even going to try to pretend to be one. The sole reason, the reasons that we want to go to this software were highlighted by Deputy Fursky, and you can see that on YouTube TV at the Selectmen's meeting, all of the reasons. I did make a sampling of phone calls to people. So first is, yes, Beth?
So I was going to wait till you were done, but I have a question about, if we're talking about you becoming a more regional system, what is the regional system using? Or would this be it? Because what I don't want to do is buy something today and then have to buy you something tomorrow because we've merged with other communities.
Can I get to that in a few minutes?
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to go, I dissected this whole letter down to try to answer all your questions. So,
Thank you.
Where was I?
I'm sorry.
I called a sampling of departments. I called the town of Avon. I spoke to the chief in the town of Avon. I spoke to the chief in the town of Westford, and I spoke to a representative from the very community that's highlighted in this letter. Okay, so IMC, in my opinion, does not do all of the things that were described by Deputy Fursky at his presentation. That is my opinion. And to support that is we are one of those 239, I think. We are one of those 200 and something towns that's using that, as are the other ones that I called. But in an effort to try to utilize software to its full potential and let it do the things that fire departments needed to do, we are paying for other software. So in the town of Avon, they are running small part of IMC record management. They are also using Bryx, B-R-Y-X, and you can write these things down and you can look them up online. And they're also using software called Firehouse. So they're using 3 things to make up for what their CAD is driven by, because that's what the police department uses is IMC. The dispatch center uses IMC, but to get it to do all the things that the fire department wanted it to do, they're paying for all those other things. The town of Wellesley is using Bryx as well, B-R-Y-X, and they're also using Station Smarts. Up in Westford, they're using a component of IMC, and they're using, I can't remember exactly, a couple other pieces of software that we pay for. We're trying to go to one thing. That's our goal, to have one piece of software that operates our entire organization. Right now, we're paying for Go to My PC, I Am Responding, Ambu Pro. We use Google Calendars. And then eDispatch. And then that same component of IMC. I'm not an IMC expert. If I used it for 23 years, I would probably be very comfortable speaking about it. But the homework that the deputy and I did, as well as our IT committee, when we were looking at this, we learned a lot of things about the software that we're looking at. Internet-based, cloud-based, better cybersecurity. We're not paying for servers anymore. I just paid $40,000 a few years ago for a backup server, so we would have redundancy. The downtime is like minuscule. So when they want to do upgrades to our system, we don't even know it. They put us in a different environment, whatever that means, computer world. They make the upgrade and then they put us back. The downtime was, I believe, less than 0.5%, Deputy. Was that right? Less than 0.5%. So we did an upgrade on IMC. We were down for almost 3 hours on Sunday night. The whole system, we were down. One of the top things that got us looking at new software was when we have our ISO. We had our ISO rating, pre-planning. We have different computer systems here in the town of Westborough. The building department has Permit Pro. The assessors has Patriot Properties. This is a sister company that we're looking at. First Due. First Due goes in and layers everything right onto the assessor's map, and we automatically get max points for pre-planning. And we have this entire database built right into our fire software already. And every time there's an upgrade or a system upgrade or a change, it's influenced back into that same software. I'm nervous to be called out on some of my technical experience with this as I go forward. I'm a fire chief, not a computer person, but these are the things that I learned. And exercising my judgment as your fire chief, I believe I'm looking at the best software for the Westborough Fire Department. With regard to regionalization, we don't even know if that's ever going to happen. We haven't even had a kickoff meeting yet. There are 7 towns. We don't even know if we're going to mesh operationally, mesh by procedures. We don't know if we're going to get the funding. We have no idea. I don't want to run the fire department based on what could happen 5 years from now if we go to a regional center, but we are not even close at all. There was a small sampling of a study that was done in 2 of the towns. One really didn't comply and the other one already opted out. You can see right there, we were left alone. That's not regional. We went out and we found some more towns. We're going to look at it again. That's just not a promise. What else? Even within our own town, the Westborough Police has been using IMC for, let that sink in, since 1990. That's a very old software. They're a police department and they're already using other software because they can't get out of IMC what they want to get out. They're using DTS and they're using Planet Police. They get far better statistics and data out of that than they could ever get. IMC is not user-friendly for me. It's not user-friendly for the deputy. It's not user-friendly for Patrick Cullen, who manages the IT for both departments. It's not easy. I can run data 2 different ways and run statistics on something from 2 angles and get 2 different pieces of information. Peter McLaughlin's a very smart guy. I think he probably dedicates a lot of time to it, and he's far, far better than me at managing this stuff. But I have a department to run, and I want to provide the best service I can for the community. So when I look at First Due, which is what we're looking at, I can tie in my pre-planning, and I'm going to read off of my computer screen. The community engagement piece to me is the biggest part of this whole thing. I can give access to the public, residential and commercial, to go in and manage their own site file for us. That's a very big deal. I don't have time to go to everybody's house or everybody's business to input data every year or every time there's a change in ownership or occupancy. They can do it on their own, and we can mandate that through a permitting process. We can make that happen pretty easily. Manages our fire inspections. One of the very best parts is, for me, financially, is the mobile concept at First Due. I don't know if IMC does it because I can't find it anywhere, or whatever it's called now, Central Square. I don't know because I can't find it anywhere. But like licensing through First Due, unlimited licenses forever. I can give that to the police department so they can access some of our site files if we permit. I can do mobile on an iPad or a cell phone now. Every firefighter carries a cell phone. We have iPads in the trucks. Right now we're paying $5,000 for a tough book and a docking station per apparatus. The police department is going to expand their fleet. If we get this new software, we're going to hand over to them our licenses and potentially the computers and the docking stations and save them a boatload of money. There's a lot of moving pieces to this project. We've done our homework to the best of my capability with computers. I am happy to stand up in town meeting and say that I made a mistake in my article. The way it is presented, I will certainly put that up there and be as transparent as possible. To be fully transparent, I own it. I wrote it. I gave it to the town manager, but I wrote it, and but I still stand by what I think. I think it's, even though the website says it's fire, it says there's a fire component to it. If you just look at their website, go to Central Square and look at it. a lot of law enforcement. And I personally just don't think it works for us. Thanks. Deputy, did I miss anything? Okay.
Any
questions,
folks? Andrew?
Thank you, Chief. So one of the names I didn't hear, and I apologize if it was part of a connection, but the folks who are involved in our own town IT department, Mark Stockman, Pam, Walter, where you say you're not involved in the IT stuff and what goes on in the background, have you consulted with them about what the requirements are and whether there are other options that we should be considering, including the existing software, the extensibility off the existing software, from a bigger IT perspective?
Yes, we did. We had a committee that put together, and we researched a lot of different software. Frankly, when we had demonstrations, we looked at Red Alert. We looked at First Due. I'm going to be honest with you. I really didn't look hard at EMC. I looked briefly because it doesn't really work for us. It's not doing what I want it to do. We looked at Firehouse. I don't know. Am I missing anything, Deputy? No. And one last thing is this software, it's already picked up by an abutting community, and we have 3 more abutting communities looking at it. And of those, so 1 using it, 3 looking at it. The 1 using it and 2 of the ones that are looking at it are also involved in that study that we keep talking about, the regional study. So yes,
thank you, Chief.
We did.
So you're
look at
saying,
it.
yeah.
Mark Stockman is in the loop. We actually sat down and discussed this letter also with him after the fact, and his opinion is if this company does everything that they say it's going to do, he was in favor.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's very important.
Any other questions? Okay. Chief, Deputy, thank you very, very much for filling in the blanks for us and responding to those concerns. Appreciate your time. And
well, Mr. Chair, last thing, I just want to apologize again. I'm sorry that you had to receive a letter like that, and I will do a better job to articulate better and not have this happen again.
Thank you, Chief. Thanks. Okay, gents, have a great evening.
Typos happen. We're all human. Typos happen.
Thanks.
So, thank you.
Typos happen. Jen, thank you so much for being patient and your courtesy in allowing the fire department to jump the line.
Yeah, of course.
There were some questions that came up about your articles that we just wanted to clarify. And I think Hank Rauch. And
I do.
I'm going to let him drive the questioning on this one since he's so familiar with the golf club.
Sure.
Hank?
Yeah, my concern is that we've had one year of positive revenue, of revenue that exceeded expenses, and we basically had exhausted our revolving fund or enterprise fund, and I'm wondering if it's really a good decision to give back the tax increment we got, because I'm seriously concerned that the recreation department is going to come forward in the next year or two looking for additional tax revenue to support the golf club, because we haven't got the reserves we need, particularly in the capital. We've had a lot of difficulty with getting our capital, providing sufficient capital to keep things alive. We've had a number of unplanned capital expenditures. Over the last couple of years, we've had 3 or 4, and just kind of looking to get some assurance that you're aware of all those issues, and you reserve with the enterprise fund and the reserves that remain in it.
Yeah, so thank you. I think at the beginning, I was a little confused confused of what was really happening with this budget adjustment. So after talking many times with Christy and with Leah, what article, I believe it's Article 9, the budget adjustment, all that is doing is basically retained earnings were certified at $401,822 at the end of FY21. Because revenues came in as high as they did, the town now is able to increase the revenue estimate to cover the entire FY22 budget. That would also include the Article 10 for the credit card fees. This was not possible at Springtown meeting because there were certain revenues the town had never recognized before under the previous management model. So now we're able to raise the revenue estimate that would cover the budget. So the only thing coming out of retained earnings is the $50,000 for the pump system. So our retained earnings budget balance would be about $350,000, just over.
Thank you. Follow-up?
But I was under the impression that everything's coming out of the enterprise fund.
I was too, but there was some back and forth. And like I said, I talked to Christy and confirmed with Leah and sent a follow-up email Wednesday to double confirm. Basically, what I just said to you was my email. I have it printed in front of me. And they both confirmed that that's correct. That's what's going to be happening. They were only able to estimate $500,000 in revenue because, again, we didn't recognize certain revenues, mainly the cart revenue, before. So now that basically, that we came in so high, Leah is able to estimate a higher revenue estimate. And it's not like we're transferring that $150,000, which I had previously said before, out of retained earnings. The only thing coming out of retained earnings is the $50,000 for the pump.
But the articles say that everything's coming out of enterprise fund. Is there some difference between enterprise fund and retained earnings? I mean, does the enterprise fund have dollars in it that are different than retained earnings?
So the enterprise fund budget, that's the difference. So it's not retained earnings, and I don't have the warrant article right.
It actually, Hank, says enterprise revenues. So together they're paying for it from this year's revenues.
Yeah, let me ask the question. Let me ask the question a different way. Are you comfortable that for the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to have sufficient revenue and sufficient reserves in the enterprise fund to cover your operating budget needs and your capital needs without having to tap the tax levy again? That makes it real simple.
Right. So we're not tapping the tax levy. So we're going to be fully funded for this year, just so that's.
But what about the next 2 or 3 years?
Oh no, I'll get to that. So with 350 in retained earnings, I feel pretty good about that. And with only really having 1 to 2 years worth of solid data with the revenues that we're able to take in now, meaning all of it, I did a little bit of estimating this past week, and I do feel pretty confident that we'll have at least enough to cover our operating budget, and I estimated low. Our new pro Matt has a ton of ideas on ways to increase revenue, bring more awareness to the course. So I really think that will help. Like I said, I don't have significant data to really, and I don't have a crystal ball to tell you, but I do feel confident that we'd be able to cover at least our operating budget. And just a note on the capital projects, I was aware that the golf course hadn't been part of the town's capital planning process, but for this year, you'll be happy to know that I submitted all of the capital projects to the capital plan. And so we have a capital plan going out to FY27. So we are now with this new management model going to be following all of the town practices in regards to capital planning.
Okay, I understand the answers. Thank you.
Thanks.
Walter?
I do just, I guess it's kind of a nuance, but Article 9, well, it says out of enterprise revenues. Article 10 actually says raise and appropriate through the Country Club Enterprise Fund. So
It does. So I asked Christy about that as well. That means because now that line is going to be added into our budget. That's what how they word it because it's going to be a line that's added into our budget. It's a raise and appropriate through retained earnings, but it's not on the taxes. And that
I
will be
understand it's not on the taxes, but this gets back to Hank's point. Are you taking that 11,000 out of your retained earnings, or it's just coming out of the income that's coming in this year?
right coming out of the income. It'll be covered in the budget. Yep.
Paul?
I just wanted to clarify, because Jen said that 500,000, what Christie had said at the last meeting, the meeting before, was, just to clarify that, it was the state wouldn't allow us to budget more than 500,000. Just because there was no experience and that's the way they work. But we would have budgeted a higher number, and that none of this would have come up if we had been allowed, I think is the way I understood it.
Yeah, that's fair to say, yes. And that's why now where we almost, for lack of a better term, we proved that we took in this much money. So now we're able to estimate higher revenues, which would cover the budget.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Jennifer? No? Great. Jen, thank you so much thank you for waiting.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate it. And thank you for joining us tonight, and have a great rest of the evening.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Bye.
Jen.
Okay, folks, hopefully with those three, we'll be able to move on to voting for the balance of the articles this evening, and then get on to the R&R draft and maybe clear those things out of the way. So, Walter and Paul, are you ready to
We got to vote next?
record the votes?
Sure.
Are you all ready to vote, by the way? Is there any reason why we should not vote on any of the remaining articles this evening? By the way, Christie is standing by. She's away from Westborough, but she's standing by if we need to bring her in for any explanation on Article 22, which is the trail easement. If you all feel there's a need to have a more detailed explanation. Okay. All right, so moving on to Article 7. May I have a motion motion on this article? Don't all jump at once. Beth, looks like you're getting ready to say it.
Well, I usually do, but I'm working on version 7, so I didn't know whether my article numbers were correct anymore.
So I move that the AFC recommend town meeting vote to raise and appropriate $79,727 for the purpose of into the police department salary and wages budgets.
And to raise $700.
And to raise $700 for the purpose of increasing the police department expense budget.
Is there a second? Discussion? Okay. We'll go to a roll call vote. Beth?
Blumberg, yes.
Ford, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Eagle, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Moretti, yes.
800.
Thank you. Article 8.
I move that the AFC recommend the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $70,800 and $882, sorry, for the purpose of this article.
Second.
Discussion?
Is there a way to make an amendment or a recommendation where we recommend the purchase of a vehicle, but not necessarily an electrical one? Because I'll tell you my biggest discomfort here, and optics, I think it's a good reason, but I don't think it's appropriate to stand in the way of a financial decision. But I still don't have a sense that this is the most practical first electrical vehicle, or one of the first electrical vehicles we could be using for the town in terms of the opportunity of savings and use elsewhere. And I don't know what that better one is. It may be the town has looked at it and decided, no, this really is the best. But I still would love to know if we can amend this so that it could be either an electric or non-electrical vehicle at that amount.
To do
It's
that, you'd have to
requesting
do it by motion on the town meeting floor.
Yeah, I mean, because right now it's saying the purpose, oh, it does say specifically an electric vehicle. I don't know.
Yeah, if again, we have not yet seen the motions, but I'm assuming the motion will include that it be an electric vehicle. And if you want to amend that, you have to amend it on town meeting floor.
I just want to
Which we can do.
I think that the reason it's specifically in there is he got a lot of kickback last time about whether it was going to be a hybrid or not, or this.
Oh,
or that.
absolutely.
And so I think he came in saying that it's an electric vehicle.
The community has made a decision to favor electric vehicles over gas-powered vehicles. We haven't understood all of the implications of that. I think the police department's taking a very appropriate, let's buy one and try it out and see if it works. If it works for the police chief, we can figure out whether it'll work for anybody else. If it doesn't work for the police chief, it clearly won't work for anybody else either. I believe it's a high-risk purchase.
I guess I'm not sure what "it works" means, and Hank, I totally get where you're going. But
my concern is that you will not. I mean, police department vehicles need to be available 24/7, 365. Electric vehicles are just by definition not available 24/7, 365. So we're gonna learn what the lack of availability means in terms of being able to effectively deploy the police activity.
Andrew, excuse me.
Yep.
Were you here? Were you on when the chief went through the testing that was done on this vehicle, and that it is the first electric police? Okay, so you know that it's been certified by those that are responsible for that certification.
It's clearly the best available electric police vehicle. It is not clearly the best available police vehicle.
Good point. Good point.
Okay, I mean, again, the whole issue of availability 24/7. These damn things need to go on charters for 6 to 8 hours in every 24-hour period minimum. It may be more than that. That's one of the things we have to learn. The only way you're going to learn is to buy one and try it out. But again, the community made this open-ended commitment without understanding the implications. It's time for the community to learn what the implications are.
Andrew?
Hank, I'm going to suggest that the other way to learn that is through other departments, because this would put us at the bleeding edge of purchasing technology for a police department for a very specialized use that's not, yes, it's police. Don't, I'm not taking away from the work, but it's not police from the point of view of car pursuits or the things you think are very policey.
No, it is. In fact,
I agree.
Well, okay, I'm going to disagree with both of you. In fact, the testing on this vehicle proved that in a high pursuit chase, and it's the first 60 seconds in that high pursuit chase that count, that this vehicle outperforms other vehicles.
That's assuming that the darn thing's available. It may not be available because it may be being charged.
I think you made that point loud and clear.
Yeah, but again, we're saying that it meets all the needs. We don't know if it meets the needs because it may not be available. Availability is the highest priority for police equipment. This does not meet the highest priority for availability criteria.
Okay, Walter?
And I'd also suggest it assumes that it's being used for...
on this, because I think, first of all, the police chief is the one recommending it, and I'll go with his recommendation. And second, all our cars are not in use 24/7. They're in a maintenance schedule. They're constantly, the person using it doesn't work 24 hours. So with the higher speed chargers and things, I think it's
safe enough.
Just frankly think it doesn't need to be charged every day for 6 hours. And
that's an
lot
assumption.
of the time it will be charged.
That's an assumption. We don't know that for sure because we haven't got the experience. We do know that the darn cruisers are available, even if they go in for service. If we have a machine, if we have a cruiser that fails,
when the
we just pull it out of the station.
Gentlemen, we're doing a lot of speculation. Andrew's question was, can this article be amended? Yes, it can on the town floor, Andrew. If if that's, if that's your pleasure to.
Okay.
Well, we can vote for whatever we want. We don't need to wait till then.
That's correct. We can vote. That's what.
Recommend, I should say.
Yeah.
I would like to make a motion.
There's a motion already
There's a
on the
motion
floor.
on the floor.
Good. I want to amend the motion. I want to amend the motion to delete the qualifier of electric vehicle.
Okay.
Replace it
second
with
that.
just vehicle. Replace it with vehicle for the police department.
Okay.
I gotta wait so I can get paper. Gotta start doing multi-motion. There's two motions.
And I also want to point out, the police chief himself said that this wasn't going to be used by the line police officers. This is for lieutenants and folks and investigators. That's not the kind of police things that are addressing, the what Hank is talking about for really putting it under a test. I'm all in favor of our police having the best equipment they need, and I just don't. I don't know if this is the best first place for the town to take a step in electricals.
Okay.
Okay,
We have
Can
to
I-
vote on the, yes, Beth.
can I just say that this is more common? I don't think that on a typical day that our average police officer is out there racing, chasing cars. Our average day-to-day police officer is driving around town slowly in their cruiser, in a much more civilized manner. So I think this is an adequate test car.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, so we have to vote on the amendment to the motion. And we'll do that by roll call vote. If you vote in favor, it would amend the motion that was made earlier to,
Did I even
this
include the
article,
word electric?
hang on.
You did.
Okay.
If you vote in the affirmative on this amendment, it would amend the motion to accept Article 8 as written. Okay? And eliminate the word electric.
it's
Is
not
that
as
clear? Right? Walter,
I'm sorry, Article 8 contains the word electric.
correct. The motion was made to basically accept Article 8. Now that motion is being amended to remove the word electric from the article. So an affirmative vote removes the word electric and amends the motion to accept the vehicle without the word electric. Are we okay with that?
Noted. Thank you.
And if the motion fails, we will then vote on the
On the original motion.
Okay.
Okay, so roll call vote. Beth?
Blumberg, no.
Board, no.
Bradley, yes.
Nolan, no.
Eagle, yes.
Roush,
Leslie,
yes.
no.
Yeah, Roush, yes.
Walter, what was your vote?
I was a no.
Okay, and Beretti, no.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 no's, 3 yeses.
Okay, so the motion to amend has failed, and we now have the motion to accept the article as written in the warrant.
Blumberg, yes.
Board, yes.
Bradley, no.
Nolan, no.
Eagle, no.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, abstain.
Beretti, yes.
So we have 4 yeses, 3 no's, and 1 abstention.
Okay. I sense that we're going to have to either add a note to our voting list about this vote, or we're going to have to make a comment in the town meeting on the 18th.
I would suggest that someone be assigned to make a comment on the town meeting floor, and possibly that same person could amend the motion that's put forward.
Okay. Are you volunteering, Hank?
No. I'm not, at the moment, I'm not confident I'll be able to make town meeting. I may have to travel to Western Pennsylvania on personal business.
Okay. We will get to that at another meeting before, perhaps even just before the town meeting. Okay, the next article up for discussion or for voting is Article 9. May I have a motion on that article?
I recommend the town vote to change the funding source for the funds appropriated under Article 2 of the May 15th, 2001 annual town meeting, fiscal year 2022 operating budget pursuant to the $500,000, which was appropriated from the enterprise revenues, and $153,178 from the tax levy, for a total fiscal year 2022 country club budget of $653,178 to operate the country club enterprise, to instead appropriate the full sum of $653,178 from enterprise revenue, and nothing from the tax levy, for a total country club budget of $653,178.
Is there a second?
Bradley, second.
Any discussion? Let's go to a roll call. Beth?
Blumberg, yes.
Ford, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Eagle, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, no.
Moretti, yes.
That is 7-1-0.
Okay. Article 10, again, the golf course budget adjustment. May I have a motion, please?
I move to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate from the Country Club Enterprise Fund $11,000 for the purpose of increasing the golf course expense budget.
Second,
Discussion? Further discussion? Roll call. Beth?
Blumberg, yes.
Ford, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Eagle, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Moretti, yes.
That is 8-0-0.
Article 11, golf course pump station. May I have a motion, please?
I recommend the town vote to transfer from Country Club retained earnings the sum of $50,000 for the purpose of replacing the water pump system at the golf course.
Is there a second?
Bradley, second.
Any further discussion on this article? Okay, roll call. Beth?
Blumberg, yes.
Ford, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Eagle, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Moretti, yes.
8-0-0.
Okay. Article 13, the fire department and dispatch software. May I have a motion, please?
Yep, turning the page, sorry. Did we skip Article 12? Oh, we did that one. Okay.
Yes, we did.
To see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $33,000 for the purpose of purchasing and installing fire department and dispatch software system.
Is there a second?
Second,
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call. Beth?
Blumberg, yes.
Ford, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Eagle, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Moretti, yes.
8-0-0.
Okay. Moving on to Article 22. Have you all had a chance to read this article?
I don't know.
The land. Yeah,
Sorry, yep. Go ahead, Tom.
the easement there over the railroad bridge.
It's the acceptance of the trail easement.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like me to ask Town Manager Williams to join us? You think that's necessary?
The only question I had was whether at the select board meeting, they were talking about they may not need this article, but I don't think it harms us to be in favor of it or against or whatever.
They decided to leave it in, Walter.
I know that they left it in the warrant, but whether they'll make the motion, I guess.
Oh.
But that we won't know.
We don't know. We don't know what we don't know.
Exactly. So that they haven't decided that they aren't going to do it at this time. Fine.
Any
Do we know if the town takes on any burden by accepting this transfer of the easement?
Yeah, what's the downside, I guess?
Town's responsible for maintaining the road or maintaining the property.
No, we don't take on that responsibility. A trail easement just allows you to transit across the property. Does not require you to do it to maintain a property.
Okay.
That's all it does is it authorizes, it allows the town to have a trail crossing the property. Doesn't fund that work. Just authorizes the legal right to do it.
Any other concerns or questions?
Yeah, this is like free land. What's the question? No, I'm just kidding. No, thank you. No further questions.
I mean, it's not quite free because we'll end up spending money with the town council to write the paperwork and all that.
There's nothing free.
There's no free cash.
There is no free lunch.
There's no free lunch. Any other questions or concerns? All right, then let's move to vote on this. May I have a motion on this article?
I recommend the town so vote.
Second?
Bradley, second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call. Beth?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
Ford, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Eagle, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Moretti, yes.
701.
Right. That concludes, I believe, all of our votes on the warrant. And Paul and Walter, if you could, when you finish your tally, if you could get those to me tomorrow, I would appreciate it so I can get them on to the Board of Select's admin to start including that in the R&R. Okay, thank you. The next order of business is to review the draft R&R. Thank you all. Thank you, those of you who sent me some suggested revisions. What I'd like to do, if you will indulge me, is to go through where I added the changes, and then we could discuss the draft in general. So if you'll go to, there were some minor edits with respect to grammar, and I made them, and I'm not going to worry about pointing that out to you.
Dollar signs and stuff.
Pardon?
A couple dollar signs, yeah.
Yeah, dollar signs, the word all.
Yeah.
Things like that. Okay, so if you'll go to paragraph 3, it was suggested, and I concurred, that we recognize that the continued funding of a grant and procurement officer position was something that we had actually suggested. I think it was Melanie who brought it up originally, to get this position in the town to relieve the pressure on the department heads from doing this. So I put that in paragraph 3 as the last sentence, and it says as follows. Well, you can read it. I sent you the revised today. Any concerns about that? Okay. The next suggestion was to indicate what the total requested amount was for all of the articles, whether the requested funding came from free cash or one of the enterprise funds or raise and appropriate. And that total amount was $1,290,342. It's in paragraph 4 on the first page, about four lines down. And then you could see the breakdown. And ultimately, we're going to request, or the departments have requested funds that will leave us with $270,460 through raise and appropriate. Okay. There was some question about on page 2 under taxes about the last paragraph. If all the articles were required, were accepted, the annual tax bill would be $359.89, representing a 3.6% increase, and the third highest tax increase in dollars since 2010. The original wording that I had, I think, was a little confusing, and so I reworded it. The reason it's $359.89 specifically is because the valuation of the town and the valuation of the homes in the town has changed since the annual town meeting in June. And so, yes, Paul.
I was one of the ones who I think raised a concern on this paragraph, and I almost think this exacerbates my concern, and that is that it seems to suggest that voting these warrants is going to add $360 to your tax bill, where this is only a small part of that increase. These warrants in this particular meeting is only going to add, I think it's $29 of that $359, something like that. Okay. So I think it seems to mislead a little bit, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Can you recommend some different wording?
I guess I would have recommended, I don't have it in front of me, but the wording you had before I thought was fine. It was just that the emphasis was on this part of it as opposed to because it also included the information of the increase without these warrants, and that the difference wasn't spelled out, but it had that, the $330 or whatever it was going to go up anyhow. So I just would maybe, what these warrants are going to add what? I think that just needs to be added.
Right.
To the original estimate in the annual town meeting was $27 lower.
Right.
So then we're only adding $27. If everything on this passes, that's important, because otherwise people are going to be like, oh, well, if I vote no on everything, I save $350 when they're only saving $27.
Yeah, that's why we inserted the word. It was suggested to insert the word annual, but okay, I see your points. I'll reword this to indicate this is the annual amount, but it's only an increase of $27 from what was estimated at the annual town meeting. You think that would clarify it?
I think so. I think saying that today's votes will add 27, if everything is voted today, that will add $27.
And then the total will be $359.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike, are
I thought it was well written.
Yes.
I haven't seen the recap sheet from Leah. Will Leah be giving us a recap sheet?
I got the recap sheet.
Okay, and will it be included in the R&R?
It will be included in the R&R.
Could you send it out, please?
I'm going to have to scan it, and it's got some notes all over it, but I'm sure you can read it.
Well, okay, but I'm looking. I just want to be sure that the numbers we're using are the ones that are in the recap sheet.
They are. Believe me, they are.
No, it's not easy to make that come out right, but it needs to.
Okay. I'll get those out to you tomorrow. Okay. The operating reserves potential, where else did we make? Oh, it was suggested that we add, since we have been bringing to the forefront the OPEB funding, was suggested that we add a paragraph on OPEB under the issue of potential budget pressures, and that is now paragraph 3 on page 3, or paragraph numbered 3 on page 3.
Yeah.
We will talk about OPEB right after we get through this, when we talk about future drafts, because Christy was asking me today about voting, when we'd like to vote for this, for the OPEB
Policy.
strategy. Yeah.
Mike, under
Yes.
the 5 union contracts,
Yes.
does the school department agree with the numbers you put in there? The
Those-
3.5% and the 1.8 million?
Those came directly from the
Yeah.
finance director. Now, will that change? It's a possibility that that will change, because we don't know how many new hires are will come forward. Go ahead.
I understand all these numbers are forecasts as of a date. It's just important to have one set of numbers that everybody agrees are the numbers that we have, that are the best numbers we have today.
Well, those are the best numbers we have today, Hank. My concern is that if we take that out, and then that comes up again in 6 months, it's going to be a big hit. That if it gets to that point.
I don't think we need to take it out. I just want to make sure we have one set of numbers that everybody agrees to.
Yep. These are the numbers we have today. I mean, the whole idea of this particular section is
It's coming.
we're not surprised. People are not surprised. Okay. And they could be thinking about these issues. It was suggested, I'm sorry about that. I'm going to have to just hang this up. I apologize. It was suggested that the climate action plan also be included, even though we don't know what the price tag is on that yet. And
But we've
that's
just
why-
seen $70,000.
Pardon?
We've just seen essentially $70,000 that
Well-
might not have been that much.
You saw about $10,000 maybe.
Right, was the upcharge.
Than a car.
Coming home tomorrow on hospice.
Oh,
He's going to be here. at the
excuse me,
condo.
folks.
Yeah, no, so I guess,
Sorry.
no, that's okay. The climate action plan has a cost, and I think calling it out is worthwhile.
It does not have a cost that's been articulated and published.
Well, it has a,
Sustainable Westborough, who was responsible for the climate action plan, has not put forward a set of financial analyses.
right, but
They've been done, but they haven't put them forward, and it's not appropriate to mention them until they put it forward.
well, we know, I mean, we can determine that the cost of the car that we're purchasing cost a certain amount more because it's electric than if it were not
Well,
electric.
it's the initial purchase cost, but what people are saying is that over time, it will actually be cheaper.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, to try and explain all of that is very difficult.
Maybe it should say may, Mike, instead of will.
Okay, we can do that. That's an easy.
Because you're just trying to worry, and the one above you say may.
Yes,
So,
on the CPA. Okay. And that constitutes the major changes that were made up until today when I sent this out. Are there any other recommendations for edits or adjustments or rewording? Yes, Walter.
I guess just one question, that 1,290,342 came off the other sheet because it doesn't exactly agree with Paul's, but I'm assuming you got it off Leah's sheet.
Actually spoke with Leah today to verify that number.
Okay, good.
Today was a day filled with phone calls. Double checking. Believe me, I understand. We don't want to be, we don't want to put our collective names on this and somebody says, well, you guys don't know how to add, so.
We've had that problem in the past.
Yes, I know. Andrew?
May I propose striking the word somewhat under the revenue section, which is the first word of the second line? Some revenues anticipated from Pulte is expected to be delayed due to the impact of COVID.
Okay.
Some revenue and somewhat is just like blurring a blur.
Okay, we can do that. I think that's easy. Thank you. Any other issues? Any other questions, concerns?
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you. It's a combined effort. So shall we vote on this?
I move that we accept the R&R as written with minor editorial changes made by the chair and his designees.
There a second?
Second.
I'll second if Mike doesn't go rogue.
I will not go rogue. I promise. Okay, let's go to a roll call. Beth?
Blumberg, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Andrew?
Bradley, yes. Is board skip?
I think she dropped off.
Got it.
Eagle, yes.
Bradley, yes then.
Eagle, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Already, yes. So we're 7-0-0.
Right.
Thank you. Okay. We're moving on. We're actually in pretty good shape time-wise. Are there any liaison reports? Okay. If
School building committee met, and the school opening remains on schedule for what's been targeted. So that's very good news. And there'll be news coming out soon about open houses for the new building and the Fales building, the old building. There's going to be a public outreach for that.
Okay. When is the school opening, Andrew? Please remind us.
They're talking about November is when they're going to try and start moving folks over.
I think it's over the Veterans Day weekend.
I forget the specifics of the dates because there was a lot of back and forth specifically with the administration, and it aligns as best as possible with the school schedule.
Okay. Any other comments on that, or any other liaison reports? Okay, I did get a call today from our former chair, Sean, with respect to two committees. One is called the Senior Disabled Taxation Relief Committee, and the other is the Senior Disabled Taxation Aid Committee. Both of those committees are getting back into the swing of things. The first committee, the Senior Disabled Taxation Relief Committee, requires an AFC member. So I'm going to leave that out there and give you all a few days to think about it. If anybody wants to participate in that committee as a representative of the AFC, not a liaison, please do let me know.
Did John describe what the position entails?
I am going to get you that information. I don't know how frequently they're meeting, Tom. John Steinberg is I guess you would say, the titular head of the committee. It is an important committee. That's why they want they don't want a liaison. It's to be an actual member of the committee. Okay. The second committee, the Senior Disabled Taxation Committee, apparently they have now raised quite a bit of money. For those of you who don't know it, this is, you could designate when you pay your taxes, you can add an additional amount of money to go to relief for some of our citizens who are disabled. And they have now acquired a considerable amount of funds, and they're ready to start doing something with it. The committee is short one additional citizen So it doesn't have to be an AFC member. I'm putting it out there for all of you to think about if you'd like to participate in that committee, or if you know someone who would be willing to participate in that committee. Okay. So just let me know over the next few days. And I will get back to you, Tom. If you're interested, Tom, on the first committee, I'll get back to you with some
Heck,
details.
I'd love to see both. I hope I can drag somebody else in to fill the second slot too.
Okay.
Just hear more about it.
Absolutely. I may just put you directly in touch with John. But let me give John a call. I won't have a chance to do it tomorrow, but I will do it on Monday. Okay. All right. Any other liaison issues? Okay. Future draft agendas. As I mentioned earlier, Christy has asked us when we might be ready to vote on the OPEB policy. The selectmen are going to discuss it, but not vote on it on Tuesday of next week. They're actually, I understand, waiting for us to vote before they take a vote. And then they will apparently vote on this on the 26th of this month. Walter?
Well, the last one we saw was very incomplete in terms of what the plan was for the future years. So
Right.
I'd like to see that filled in before we vote.
Right.
We just voting on philosophically.
No, I don't think we should. We've been behind this OPEB funding for quite a while now. When I spoke with Christy about it today, I think that before we vote, we need to have a sit down. They need to come and meet with us and give us some more detail about where that stands right now in terms of the strategy. So I think we have two options before the select board meets on the 26th. One is next week on the 14th, which is a Thursday. It's not on our calendar, but if you're amenable, we can make it a single item agenda and ask the appropriate folks from the town to come and meet with us to discuss the strategy. The other option is the 21st, which is after the town meeting, but before the select board meets to vote. So what's your pleasure?
Mike, if it's either a policy or a strategy, it's not clear to me which it is.
It's going to be a policy with an incorporated strategy.
If it's a policy, then there has to be a document.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm really reluctant to do anything till I see the document and read it.
Okay. How about if we tentatively schedule the 21st then?
Sounds good.
Works for me.
Okay. This gives us enough chance to get the document out. We'll let them get the document out in our hands.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So we'll go with the 21st, and we'll get this thing moved to you as quickly as possible. And again, just a reminder, the fall town meeting is on the 18th. We're going to meet 45 minutes before the start. So we have no other meetings between tonight and the fall town meeting. Okay, Walter?
You say 45?
I meant 6:45, 15 minutes before.
Okay, because last time we said 15. So.
I was going to say, it sounds like a big pep talk.
No, I don't need to give you guys a pep talk. Not after tonight.
If you thought you wanted to revisit the police car again, that could take time.
Well, you know what? I don't think I want to, if you want to revisit the police car, you're more than welcome to. I don't think I want to revisit the police car.
No, I don't, but.
Okay, then, if that's going to be revisited, it's going to have to be revisited on the town meeting floor.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Anybody else?
Great job on the R&R. That was impressive.
So we're still planning on draft agendas ARPA in November.
Say that again, please, Walter.
We're still planning for an ARPA discussion in November.
Yes, there will be an ARPA discussion in November. I cannot give you a firm date. We reviewed it at the financial team meeting on Tuesday. I will tell you, this money is coming with all kinds of onerous reporting requirements. And when the town managers see, and they probably have already, but when they see the reporting requirements, I'm even wondering who's going to want some of that money. I mean, there's categories are limited, and the reporting requirements directly to the federal government. There's no state intervention in this. This goes directly from the town of Westborough to the federal government.
Well, won't there possibly be some of the requests that will fit very nicely?
Yes.
And be very, so, I mean, that may help us figure out what is the right path to choose for this money.
Well, there are I think 4 or 5 categories that I remember, and each one carries with it specific guidelines and specific reporting requirements. The document that supports the guidelines and reporting requirements is 150 pages long.
Lovely.
Mike, is there any chance that we could get clarity on what our authority is to intervene in or approve or otherwise participate in this decision-making process?
It's going to be, the way it's looking now is it's going to be handled through the standard approval process. Any request for funds will come from the town to the AFC. Any request for utilization of those?
Can we get?
So it's like an AFC reserve fund?
You know, I can't know. I don't think it's a grant. It's an outright grant. It's not.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I really would like to understand what our authority is to make decisions, and if we have any accountability that goes with that authority. Okay. Usually, if you have authority, you have accountability, right? Yeah. And I have no idea what my authority is.
Okay.
And similarly, I'd like to see the proposals that are being considered. I hate to say this, but in something substantial that I can read.
You will.
Okay.
Each town manager is required to submit a very specific proposal for the use of funds, and they're out. We have them, but we're holding them until we go through the process of reviewing. It's, I mean, I can tell you now, it doesn't look like capital equipment requests are going to be, there's no specific category for capital equipment.
Okay, so in other words, the school's request for air conditioners or whatever it is likely not to work.
No, that fits, believe it or not.
Okay.
All right, just hang in there, okay?
Okay, so do police officers still fit?
Under certain categories, there's a potential. I won't give you a solid answer on that right now because I can't.
That's fair. I mean, that's why I want something I can read or put, you know.
They understand that they being the finance team.
So this may be more than one meeting.
Yeah.
In November.
Maybe a fun meeting.
No, more than one.
More than one.
And they'll all be fun.
It all depends on what our authority is. If our role is purely to give advice to the Board of Selectmen, that's one thing. If we have the authority to make decisions, that's a different thing.
I think what you're going to see happen, and again, this is my thinking, the process will be the standard. The request comes through, it comes to the AFC to examine, to question, just like we do with any other request.
And make a recommendation.
Make a recommendation, and then it goes on to the board of the select board.
Will it go on to town meeting?
The select board's the decision-making authority.
I have a feeling it's going to town meeting, Hank.
Okay, that's really important to understand that ahead of time. I mean, technically, this committee is a subcommittee of the town meeting.
That's correct.
So our authority, we don't have any authority that town meeting doesn't have.
Correct.
And our authority and our work is to make recommendations to town meeting. We don't make decisions.
Correct.
I've made decisions my whole life. I have no problem making decisions, but I'd really like to understand whether I'm making recommendations or making decisions.
Well, as you can understand right now, there's still a lot of discussion going on.
Oh, I understand.
So for me to sit here and say X, Y, and Z is going to happen, I can't do that. I can just tell you that things are still under discussion.
Yep.
Okay. But a process is being formulated, and that's the direction we appear to be going in. Okay.
Excellent.
All right. All right. Any public reminders? Great.
We should remind people that the town meeting is coming up.
October 18th.
This is our last chance to do it.
October 18th, 7 p.m.
Right. The high school. Come prepared. Start paying attention.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Isn't that a little late?
No.
Whatever.
Andrew, it's not just now. You mean the time of the meeting? Is that what you're talking about?
No,
No,
I was paying attention.
Oh, no.
I've been paying attention the whole damn meeting.
Yeah, you have, but I'm not talking to you folks. Start paying attention is my mantra to the town. Start paying attention. Don't keep coming back to us and saying, why are our taxes going up?
Come to town meeting. I mean, that's really key.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
And that's a discussion for another time.
Motion to adjourn.
No, we haven't done the minutes approval, and I'd like to.
Oh.
I was late,
okay.
sorry, so.
How did I miss that? I went,
Well, we didn't want to hold up our guest.
yes.
Motion
But it's meeting number 9 of October 4th.
Okay. may I have
motion to
a
approve the minutes of October 4th?
Second.
Second, okay, Tom. Any discussion of those minutes? Then we'll go to a roll
Lumberg,
call.
yes.
Thank you.
Bradley, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Eagle, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Moretti, yes. The minutes of the 23rd of September are not available at this time. They're going to come to us from the select board's office. Okay. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Lumberg, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Eagle, yes.
Bye.
Leslie, yes.
Roush, yes.
Moretti, yes. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Westborough TV.
Thank you, Westborough.
Thanks,
TV.
all.
Absolutely.